Hello, hello! Pete's Pax here, and we're back with episode number 37 of Throwback Thursday. This week we have the World Championships Toronto, August 2001 Semifinalist deck, played by Antoine Ruel, or Ruel, depending on which part of the world you're in. So, let's get into this. Let's see, Antoine Ruel's blue-black-red control deck, so Grixis, survived the pressure in the early game with its almost overwhelming card drawing capability. And in the end, Nether Spirit kept rising from from his graveyard to take down his opponents. Right, very cool. So it's a Grixis Nether Spirit deck? Yeah. Alright. Oh, he called it AK Go, or Go. AK Go, probably. Creatures, 3 Nether Spirit, Other, 4 Accumulated Knowledge, that's where the AK is coming from. 4 Counterspell, 2 Crosis's Charm, 2 Duress, 3 Factor Fiction, 4 Fire Ice, 3 Opt, 2 Spite and Malice, 2 Sabo's Decree, 2 Sabo's Web, 4 Undermine, 4 Urza's Rage. You could play that in premodern. And then for lands, we have 8 Island, 4 Salt Marsh, 3 Shivan Reef, 1 Sulphurous Spring, 4 Underground River, and 3 Urborg Volcano. And for the sideboard, we have 2 Duress, 2 Engineered Plague, 2 Lobotomy, 3 Meekstone, 2 Pyroclasm, 1 Teferi's Response, and 3 Sabo's Assassin. Very nice. Right. Got our proxy cards. Collect all 4 World Championship decks. Relive the excitement of the 2001 World Championships with these 4 commemorative decks. Tom Vanderlo, World Championship. Tom Vanderlo's aggressive black-red machine head deck used the good old blow stuff up method, while creatures like Plague Spitter wiped out his opponent's smaller creatures. More ferocious beasts like Flame Tongue Kavu aggressively cleared the board of larger threats. We have Alex Borta, finalist. Alex Borta's mono blue control deck contained 12 1-toughness creatures. These helped hold the board until his Static Orb opposition combo could lock down his opponent's permanents, clearing the way for a horde of merfolk to pour through for victory. Antoine Ruel, semifinalist. Antoine Ruel's blue-black-red control deck survived the pressure of the early game with its almost overwhelming card draw capability, and in the end, Nether Spirit kept rising from his graveyard to take down his opponents. And then last week's, we did Jan Tomkani, quarterfinalist. Jan Tomkani's green-red-black Fires deck used early mana-producing creatures to play quick Fires of Yavimaya. Shortly after, Tomkani's hasted big creatures pounded opponents' life totals to dust. Very nice. Jump over to the sideboard and start with that first. Antoine Ruel, semifinalist, a member of the famous Team Black Ops. Antoine Ruel, a native of Aubervilliers, France, took his blue-black-red control deck to a third-place finish at this year's World Championships. Ruel credits his teammate Laurent Pegoric for his deck that he calls AK Go. The deck, which Ruel played to a 5-1 record during the standard portion of the tournament, relies on card drawing, most notably Accumulated Knowledge, or AK for short, Counter Magic, Go for short, Red for board control, and Nether Spirits for the win. Very nice. Alright, so we have from the sideboard 2 Duress from 7th edition, art by Pete Ventures. For black as a sorcery, target opponent reveals his or her hand. Choose a non-creature, non-land card from it. That player discards that card. Change your mind or I'll change it for you. That's pretty great. I forgot the flavor text on that one was amazing. Engineered Plague, also from 7th edition. Art by Andrew Goldhawk. 2 and a black, enchantment. When it comes into play, choose a creature type. All creatures of the chosen type get -1/-1. Good way to defend against merfolk, goblins, all kinds of stuff. White weenie. Lobotomy. This one's from Invasion. Art by D. Alexander Gregory. 2 blue-black, sorcery. Look at target player's hand and choose a card other than a basic land from it. Search that player's graveyard, hand, and library for all cards with the same name as a chosen card and remove them from the game. Then that player shuffles his or her library. Today, this would replace anything from the hand, but not then. Oh, looks like there's another Engineered Plague. We have 2 Lobotomy. Meek Stone, also from 7th edition. 1 mana, or art by David Martin. 1 mana artifact. Creatures with power 3 or greater don't untap during their controller's untap steps. Which is a good way to shut down the bigger creature strategies. We have 3 copies of Meek Stone. Pyroclasm. Art by Monty Michael Moore. This is the 7th edition printing as well. I was not aware this was on 7th edition. 1 and a red, sorcery. Deals 2 damage to each creature. We have 2 copies of Pyroclasm. Next up, Teferi's Response. Art by Scott Bailey. This was from Invasion. 1 and a blue, instant, counter target spell or ability an opponent controls that targets a land you control. If a permanent's ability is countered this way, destroy that permanent, draw 2 cards. So this always draws 2 cards, which is pretty strong. Funny thing about this is a good way to destroy Rishadan ports. Or Rishadan ports, rather. And then last we have Sabo's Assassin, art by Glenn Angus. This is also from Invasion. 2 black for a 1/1 Assassin. Tap, destroy target creature if it shares a color with the most common color among all permanents or the color tied for most common. A creature destroyed this way can't be regenerated. We have 3 copies. Very nice. Alright, now to the main deck, where we have Nether Spirit, art by Alan Pollock. This is from Mercadian Mass. 1 black for 2/2 Spirit. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Nether Spirit is the only creature card in your graveyard, you may return Nether Spirit to play. Now, I'm not sure if this is a ruling I haven't looked up in a very long time. I think if you have multiple copies of Nether Spirit, they all come back, but I'm not 100% sure of that. So, someone who wants to look up the ruling on that, please leave it in the comments down below. We have 3 Nether Spirit. Except we have Accumulated Knowledge, art by Randy Gallegos. This is from Nemesis. 1 and a blue, instant, draw a card, then draw cards equal to the number of Accumulated Knowledge cards in all graveyards. So if your opponent also has Accumulated Knowledge, this can become way better than Ancestral Recall, which is what this card is commonly compared to. Because a 2 mana draw 8 can be amazing. We have 4 copies of Accumulated Knowledge. I mean, just a 2 mana draw 3 is amazing. So, next up we have Counterspell, art by Galyan. This is the Mercadian Masks art, but blue, instant, counter target spell. And this was after they shifted interrupts to being instants. We have apparently 2 different arts. We also have the 7th edition art by Mark Romanowski. Very cool. 2 of each. Croesus' Charm, art by David Martin. Blue, black, red. So Grixis colors. For an instant. Choose 1. Return target permanent to its owner's hand. So you can bounce a land with that. Or destroy target non-black creature and it can't be regenerated. Or destroy target artifact. Just an all-around great piece of removal that can also be used disruptively. Have 2 copies of Croesus' Charm. Except we have Duress with the 7th edition Pete Ventures art. For black, it's a sorcery. Target opponent reveals his or her hand. Choose a non-creature, non-land card from it. That player discards that card. Duress is still a staple in every format that it's legal, even today. Then we got good old Foff, art by Therese Nielsen, printed in Invasion. 3 in a blue, instant, reveal the top 5 cards of your library. An opponent separates those cards into 2 face-up piles. Put one pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. We have 3 Factor Fiction. Next up we have Fire and Ice. Fire is by David Martin. Ice is by Franz Vohwinkel on the art. And this is from Apocalypse. Fire is 1 in a red, instant. It deals 2 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or players. And then Ice is tap target permanent, draw a card. Very nice. Still a great card in many formats. Played heavily in Modern and pre-Modern. Opt, art by John Howell. This is the version from Invasion. For a blue, it's an instant. Look at the top card of your library. You may put that card on the bottom of your library. Draw a card. Newer printings of this are templated as Scry 1, draw a card. We have 3 Opt. Next we have Spite and Malice. Spite has art by David Martin. Malice also has art by David Martin. Spite is 3 in a blue, instant, counter target non-creature spell. Malice is 3 in a black, instant, destroy target non-black creature, it can't be regenerated. We have 2 copies of Spite and Malice. Next up we have Sabo's Decree, art by Thomas M. Baxa. This is from Invasion. 5 in a black, instant, choose a creature type. Target player reveals his or her hand and discards all creatures of that type from it. Then destroy all creatures of that type that player controls. They can't be regenerated. So it's very similar to Plague Wind for typal strategies. We have 2 copies of Sabo's Decree. Next up we have Sabo's Web, an all-star in pre-modern. Art by Carl Critchlow. This is from Invasion. 2-mana artifact. When it comes into play, draw a card. Lands with activated abilities that don't produce mana don't untap during their controller's untap steps. So this is a way of locking down Rishadan and man lands and all kinds of tech lands. So it is a very good reason why it is played heavily in pre-modern. We have 2 copies. Except we have Undermine, the slightly improved counterspell in some ways. Art by Massimiliano Brazzato. Blue, black, instant. Counter target spell, its controller loses 3 life. Also from Invasion. We have 4 copies of Undermine. Very nice. Just good incidental damage while also moving your strategy forward. Urza's Rage, art by Matthew D. Wilson, also from Invasion. 2 in a red, instant, kicker for 8 in a red. Urza's Rage can't be countered by spells or abilities. It deals 3 damage to target creature or player. If you paid the kicker cost, instead, it deals 10 damage to that creature or player, and the damage can't be prevented. That is a huge finisher, especially since it gets around Circle of Protection Red. We have 2 copies. So we have Island, art by Scott Bailey from Mercadian Masks. Then we have an Island from 7th edition with art by Tony Sakudlo. Another Island from 7th edition, art by John Avon. Another Island from Invasion, art by Tony Sakudlo. Another John Avon Island, this one from Invasion. Another Island from Mercadian Masks with art by Tony Sakudlo. Terry Springer Island from Mercadian Masks. Scott Bailey Island from Mercadian Masks. Next up we have Saltmarsh from Invasion, art by Jerry Tiratilli. Comes into play tapped, and then taps for a blue or a black. Nice. So we didn't really have duels at this point, or that were legal in this format. This was the next best thing. So we have 4 copies of Saltmarsh. Next we have the Apocalypse printing of Shivan Reef with art by Rob Alexander. This is my favorite Shivan Reef. Taps for colorless, and then taps for a blue or red and deals 1 damage to you. We have 3 copies of Shivan Reef. Except we have the 7th edition printing of Sulphurous Spring. Art also by Rob Alexander. Taps for a colorless, and then taps for a red or a black and deals 1 damage to you. We have 1 copy of Sulphurous Spring. And we have the 7th edition printing of Underground River with art by Andrew Goldhawk. Taps for colorless, and then taps for blue or black and deals 1 damage to you. This is one of my favorite arts. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to get in black border, because it was only used in 7th edition, if I remember correctly. And we have 4 copies. Then we have Urborg Volcano, art by Tony Sakudlo. This is also from Invasion. Comes into play tapped, and then taps for a black or a red. And we have 3 copies. Very nice. And I am tempted to build this for premodern. I could technically just use the stack, but I prefer not having gold borders on the things that I'm playing with. Still a very, very cool deck by Antoine Ruel. I can definitely see why it made it to 3rd place. Alright, well, thank you for joining me on this adventure. As always, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, stay awesome. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.